Good Monday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Steelers Game Day postgame show. I'm Mason Spesky, your host here, and I am coming to you live from my basement. Following the big win last night, the Pittsburgh Steelers went out to Las Vegas and defeated the Las Vegas Raiders by a final score of 23-18. This was a very exciting win for the Steelers, as we typically do not beat the Raiders, especially on the road. This is like the Steelers' first road win in Vegas that I can remember. Sorry to burp. I always burp on this channel. I don't know why, but I must do. But the Steelers, I don't know if they've even won in Vegas in my lifetime. That's definitely interesting. I mean, for sure. Let me look it up. I'm trying to see the last time the Steelers won in Vegas while I try to talk to you guys, but against the Raiders on the road. That's impressive to say the least. The fact that we did win the game and how we did it. We lost all right, here we go. I'm sorry, this loaded. We lost 2006. Let's check 2012. I know we lost 2018. 2012. I think we lost this too. Yeah, we did. I mean, so anyway, my point being is Steelers always typically lose on the road against the Raiders. So this win feels really good. Like I said, I don't even know if the Steelers have won. This might be the first time in my life and I'm 18 years old. This might be the first time in my life that the Steelers have beat the Raiders on the road. So this win feels so good. I definitely didn't expect to win. The way we played was terrific. Let's start first off with the offense. There were some things I was disappointed or upset about, but we'll save those for last. But because for now, I want to talk about the good things, because last night was a very good night to be a Steelers fan. Very good night. First things first, the crowd. I was so happy to see the crowd last night completely made up for the 49ers game with the crowd there. I listened to 93.7 The Fan when I'm driving on the way home the Monday after the Niners game. They said they estimated about 18,000 some Niners fans at Acrisure for that game, and they were noisy, very loud for sure. Not obnoxious. They're a very good fan group, the San Francisco 49ers, but they were noisy for sure, about 18,000 of them, and they were making noises. The 49ers won the game 30-7. Last night completely made up for that because we dominated Vegas. There were so many Steeler fans, and yeah, it was definitely an awesome atmosphere in Vegas for all the Steeler fans. We had that big Watts party in Mexico City. That, I think, really helped the team a lot, and just the momentum for sure. And looking at all the fans we have in Vegas, we have a nice schedule coming up with crowds and all that, because next week it's at Houston. I expect a lot of Steeler fans to be at that one because the Texans, they did win yesterday. We'll get to them at the very end. They did win yesterday, but I still don't think they turn out well most times. I expect a lot of Steeler fans there. Week 5's a home game against Baltimore, so obviously it's a home game, so there's going to be a lot of our fans. Week 6 is the bye. Week 7's in Los Angeles against the Rams. And SoFi Stadium typically gets taken over by visiting fans, and I imagine it's going to be 70% Steelers there, so going to be a lot of Steeler fans in LA, so that'll be good. And then we have 3 straight home games, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Green Bay. So our next game, like where the crowd would be like a terrible distraction or harms us, isn't until the week before Thanksgiving in Cleveland against the Browns. Think about that. We're going to have a lot of our fans at our next 2 road games, and we have 4 home games coming up. So our next 6 games, the crowd, for the most part, should be on our side. That is huge. That is so huge if you're a Steeler fan. The way we played last night for that crowd was awesome. Now putting that debate aside, because it doesn't look like we'll have to face any hostile crowds until November the 19th in Cleveland, let's move on to what else was good about last night. The first thing that was good, second thing obviously that was good was the offense. Believe it or not, Matt Canada did an amazing job last night with the play calling and with everything. So credit to Matt, he did so awesome. And maybe this new role he has with Kenny Pickett will help the team and help him stay in Pittsburgh. So great job, Matt Canada. I'll give you all the credit in the world for that one. That was arguably your best game as the Steelers offensive coordinator. So good job, Matt. Kenny Pickett, offensive line, they both did really well, I think. Things looked good for both of them last night, and that was awesome for sure. I mean, you're always going to struggle at times. Even the defense and the offense, they both struggle at times, but Kenny responded well last night because you're going to have the other thing. I'm sorry, I didn't correct that point well. You're also going to have really good moments, and last night was a really good moment for Kenny Pickett. It was one of his better games as the starting quarterback, and he just showed that he's here to play, and that's awesome. So good job, Kenny. Good job, O-line. Good job, receivers. How about Calvin Austin? The first time I saw him at training camp in 2022, because I only lived 15 minutes from camp, so I went up there a lot to watch practice last year, and actually this year I worked training camp, so that was interesting. But last year when I watched practice, it was interesting because I saw Calvin Austin a lot, and he reminded me of Tyreek Hill. And I told him when I was on the autograph wall waiting to get autographs from him, I told him, "You remind me so much of Tyreek Hill." And he's like, "I appreciate the comment." Last night's touchdown showed he's just like Tyreek Hill. He is a potential future game changer, and he's doing good things for the Steelers. So credit to him, and good job, Calvin. Hope you can be the next Tyreek Hill like I predicted. So that's awesome. George Pickens, 4 receptions, 75 yards. 1 or 2 catches away from hitting my prop, but not a big deal. Pickens still did good. Freiermuth was involved. The whole offense looked good last night. Wait till we get Deontay back. Defensively, I think the D-line stood out to me. They did a really nice job. Keanu Benton, he's going to be a force on this D-line for years to come. TJ had a nice shot, did nice last night. And one thing I did want to mention is Minka did good. And that play, I'm shaking my head because that was a terrible call. There was no way that was a penalty. So I love Minka, and he deserves better than that. So it was a clean hit for sure, but don't tell the refs that. But the defense looked impressive. The offense looked impressive. Everything looked impressive, although there were still a couple issues last night. The big issue was this. There were 2 big issues. Issue number 1. Why do we always have to make games interesting at the end? 2 years ago, we played Denver at home. We made that, it was like 28-7, 28-10, 28-6. I don't know which one. I was at the game, so shame on me for not knowing this. But and going into the 4 for late in the third, we won the game by like 5 or 6 points. We always find ways to make games interesting. I don't know how we do it. We just do. Last year in Atlanta, for the longest time, we were up 19-3 or something like that. We let Atlanta come back and make it a game. We won the game 19-16. And now last night at Las Vegas. First off, before I get into the final score, I know this is controversial amongst fans on the opposing side, the Raiders, and I'm going to seem a little selfish here and biased when I say this because Daniel Carlson, the Raiders kicker, is on my fantasy team, but I kind of see where Josh McDaniels was coming from with that call. Because our offense had went 3-and-out twice, and their defense was in a rhythm. First things first, too, when I talk about their defense, I'm sorry I brought up Chandler Jones. I didn't even know about the contract holdout. I see things on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever it is, but I barely remember them. I just have a lot going on between school, Steelers and all the other stuff, so I barely remember stuff like that. So I'm sorry about saying Chandler Jones was there. Tyree Wilson, he did okay last night. I wasn't a big fan of his during the draft process, but didn't do bad. So anyway, though, back to the Raiders defense. They did hold the Steelers twice, got 2 straight 3-and-outs. So I see where Josh McDaniels was coming from, kicking the field goal instead of going for it. Because if you don't get that, I mean, it's probably lights out. And you probably have Pittsburgh pinned, and even you give Pittsburgh essentially another first down. I mean, I'm thinking back now to this Pitt Panthers, our University of Pittsburgh football team, when they played Cincinnati, and they did it. We were down 27-21. We went for it on 4th down. Phil Jurkovec, our quarterback, got sacked for a loss of 10 yards. So not only, instead of kicking the field goal, we won for it on 4th, and Jurkovec got sacked for a loss of 10. Sorry about repeating that. I just went to get that out the way I wanted it to correctly. Not only did we turn the ball over, we essentially gave them a first down. So I see where Josh McDaniels was coming from making that call. However, Davante Adams was wide open all night, and this leads to my next point is the secondary misses Cameron Sutton big time. Don't get me wrong, the secondaries played well. We were in good hands with Patrick Peterson, Joey Porter Jr., and now Desmond King, but the secondary needs, and I'm trying to pull up the stats from last year, this secondary needs a guy like Cameron Sutton. So last year when Sutton was on, that's what I'm trying to pull up here. So let's go back to 2022, week 16, Christmas Eve. And I get it. It was cold. It was 2 degrees. It was snowing. It was a nightmare to throw to receivers. I played in my fantasy playoff game last year for fantasy football against the best team in the league. They had a 13-2 record. Want to hear their team? Pat Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. All on the same fantasy team last year. I knocked them out in the first round of the playoffs because of one thing. The weather in those games was pathetic. Diggs didn't do anything. Mahomes didn't do anything. And I had good defense, so I had good weather. So, put it at that. But anyway, in this game, Davante Adams, and this was last year in Pittsburgh, in the game in Pittsburgh, on Christmas Eve. Davante Adams had 2 catches for 15 yards. Let's go to last night. Well, unfortunately, it looks like Jimmy Garoppolo is a concussion, so that's sad for Vegas. Sorry about that. Last night, he had 13 receptions, 172 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Looked like he had revenge on his mind. He did a good job at it. That shows you how much we miss Cam Sutton. The fact that he was wide open half the time was disappointing. I'm glad I didn't play him in this week in fantasy. I play him next week, this coming week in fantasy. Hopefully the Chargers can slow him down a little more or a little better, but it is what it is. So we have to do a better job at that, guarding number 1 receivers like him. So Cam Sutton was good for that. I would have re-signed Sutton. I think he would have been a great, not saying that Patrick Peterson isn't, because Patrick Peterson is one of the best corners in the history of this game. But Cam Sutton, I think, would have been a great mentor for Joey Porter Jr. And like I said, I think Patrick Peterson is also a great mentor for Joey Porter Jr., but I think Cam Sutton, having those free, would have been a great thing for the Steelers. So, credit to my second favorite team, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions for making that signing. And hopefully he balls out in Detroit, because he's going to get a lot more chances there. And hopefully 1 year, and I was dismayed about this last week when I was eating a snack while watching the game, thinking about how Adams was wide open and all that, and covering him, and how he did it last year on Christmas Eve. Sutton's going to have the chance this year to do it again on Christmas Eve and guard one of the best receivers in the game again in Justin Jefferson. So we'll have to see how that goes. So if Sutton does good this year guarding Jefferson, and even when Sutton guards Adams again, 5 weeks from tonight on Monday Night Football, Raiders-Lions, we'll have to see. So we'll know more about that in the coming weeks for sure. Those were the two bad things I thought. I thought that we should have been able to expand that lead and not make it interesting at the end. And number two, sorry to burp again, I would have maybe doubled down on Adams better or double teamed him even. So the one other thing I want to talk about real quickly is before we get into the recap and preview for next week, I just want to say I'm glad that the team got home safely. In case you didn't hear, the Steelers' flight home from Las Vegas got diverted to Kansas City. There was something wrong with the plane. I think it was something with the air cabin or the engine. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't read it. But it got diverted to Kansas City. They were on the tarmac there for about, I want to say, 7 to 10 hours maybe. The plane came at about 11:30 this morning, a different plane to pick them up in Kansas City. And the plane arrived in Pittsburgh about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. So I'm glad that the Steelers made it home safely and everything's all good with them. One thing I've learned is, I was thinking about this too last night because they were supposed to get in at 5:15 and everything was supposed to be all good today with them, but obviously this derailed it and they just got home about 2.5 hours ago. One thing I've learned through my time with travel and flying on airplanes is you can never take anything for granted. You can never count on anything. Just be happy if you make it to your final destination, and I'm so happy that the Steelers were able to make it home safe and sound and that everyone's okay and that everything's all good, because that's all that matters. So good to know they're okay. So just wanted to point that out there. All in all, though, I think the Steelers did a nice job this week. This was easily the best game of the year. They played well, and they played well against a team I think that is better than most people think they are. So give Vegas credit for sure. Steelers are now first place in the AFC North. Woo, woo! Baltimore lost yesterday. They're now 2-1. Cleveland won. They're 2-1, but we have the tiebreaker over them for Monday. And who knows what Cincinnati will do. They're 0-2 right now. Maybe they'll fall to 0-3. Maybe they'll improve to 1-2. They played tonight against the Rams in a Super Bowl rematch, so that'll definitely be interesting for sure. We'll have those recaps for you tomorrow on my post-game NFL Week 3 recap show. But all in all, we're the first place Pittsburgh Steelers, and life feels pretty good for us right now. So it's always good. One last thing before I go, I always like to conclude the video by doing this, and we're going to look ahead now to next week's game, Week 4, Sunday, October 1st, in Houston against the Texans at 1 o'clock p.m. J.J. Watt will be inducted into the Texans Ring of Honor, so that's extra special for him. His brother T.J. obviously will be there, so he'll get to see his brother be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The parents will get to watch TJ play, and JJ will be and get to see one of their sons play and hopefully win, and the other get inducted into the Texans Hall of Fame. And the Texans, they did good last week. This Sunday they defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 37-17 in Jacksonville. We'll recap that, as I said, on my Week 3 postgame, Week 3 recap, which will be tomorrow. But this Texans team looks good. I mean, they've played better than people have expected. They were in there with Baltimore the majority of the game. They played Indianapolis quite well. So don't be surprised by this Texans team. They're going to give us a game. They have a really strong defense led by their head coach, defensive-minded D'Amico Ryans, who came over from San Francisco, led that stud defense last year, did a good job with it. He's taken his talents now down to Houston, where he is leading a defense led by first-round draft pick Will Anderson Jr., who's done nothing but good things so far for the team and all that. He's a competitor for sure. They also have Steven Nelson, who is former Steeler. Also Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley Jr. They have some talent on that defense, that's for sure, so keep an eye out for that. We got to get going early and often against them. On offense, the offense is still evolving, but they do have some Nice young pieces led by first-year rookie quarterback out of Ohio State, C.J. Stroud. Stroud is off to an impressive start for the season. Hopefully T.J. Watt and company can slow him down for sure. Stroud also has some quality players in running back Dameon Pierce, Nico Collins, Robert Woods. He also has good tight end in Dalton Schultz. And the line looks to be better this year. Unfortunately, that line for the Texans includes former Steeler Kendrick Green, so that's definitely interesting to say the least, for sure. It'll be interesting to see what happens Sunday. It's going to be a really fun, exciting, interesting game. Sunday in Town. It's always nice going down there, so that's definitely going to be a good one. So we'll be with you next Sunday morning for the Steelers Game Day pregame show, where we'll preview the tilt in Houston against the Texans, and then after the game later, we will recap the Steelers game against the Houston Texans. That's all this week for the Steelers postgame, so I'll see you right back here next week for the Houston Texans game. That's all I have for you guys today. Enjoy this victory. Enjoy the rest of your Victory Monday. Enjoy the rest of this victory week. Get ready for Houston this coming week. Have a good one. Take care. Stay safe. And as always, peace.